Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into anything, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. Just a couple of fun conversations, couple games, couple personality quizzes, maybe even. Just something extra we give to you fans out there as a thank you for supporting us. If you choose not to support us, do not worry. It does not affect any regular content. But today, we're going back into the Toho well, and we are pulling out not Destroy All Monsters. I know you're waiting.
Been eagerly waiting.
But Nathan, I'm giving you a gift since you love King Kong so much. We're doing 1967's King Kong Escapes, directed by Ishiro Honda, the man himself.
I love Ishiro. My most watched director. Well, second most watched director of 2022. So,
yeah. Wait, who was your first?
Steven Spielberg. I went through all of his movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, there's always 2023, Nathan.
Yeah, probably. I could see it.
But no, so here it is, King Kong Escapes. It is a continuation of the original Toho King Kong, because they still had the rights to this character, and Rankin Bass really wanted them to make one because Rankin Bass had an animated series about King Kong, and that's originally what Godzilla versus Ebirah was supposed to be, but that ended up turning into a Godzilla movie instead of a King Kong movie. So they're like, well, we still want you to make a Kong version, so this is what we get. King Kong Escapes.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you ever watched the cartoon, the King Kong Rankin Bass cartoon?
I have not, because screw King Kong. But
damn! All right, I know you have a long-heated hatred for Mr. Kong, but
no, I'm kidding. No, I've never watched it, but like I said, I never had the same affections for King Kong as I have Godzilla. So I did watch the Godzilla cartoon, but from Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. How was that?
Everyone loves Godzuki.
Yes.
Yeah. So great. But no, it's totally. This is 100% King Kong's movie, and he's got a doppelganger, and the Mechagodzilla is one of the other most popular kaijus, but again, this movie predates Mechagodzilla, and this is the first time you actually see a mecha version of another kaiju, like their clone or whatever you want to call it. So the plot for this movie is completely ridiculous. It's just like the most like backwards way to like you could think of to like do this. So
it's so silly.
The main bad guy's name is, get this, Doctor Who.
Yep. I loved it. I heard that and I was like, huh? But I think they were going off of Doctor No more than Doctor Who, the sci-fi show.
Well, I guess so, but because in the Japanese subtitles it's spelled HUU.
Yeah.
So it might be because Doctor Who and his female alliance partner, or whatever you want to call it, they make these vague insinuations that they're from a country, but they don't say what country they're from, and they're like, well, we're not Chinese, we're not Japanese, or something else. So, and they really want this element called Element X.
Yeah,
because it is buried deep below. So what would you think you'd need to do to get an element out of the ground? Would you just
a giant monkey, maybe?
Yeah, well, you'd think, you'd get like a giant shovel, like maybe get like a crane, start digging, or just, good old fashioned elbow grease. But no, it's let's create a giant robot monkey to go down, and why they settled on King Kong, like why is he like the best one? Like they don't even say.
I was hoping for some explanation at some point in the movie where they're like, yeah, King Kong has brain waves that defeat Elephant X, it doesn't hurt him. No, this Doctor Who just really wants King Kong to do the job. I don't know.
Yeah, so because the other thing is like their Element X is highly radioactive, so I'm like, well, wait, wouldn't you just get someone like Godzilla or one of the other monsters that have been affected by radiation instead of King Kong? Because as far as we know, King Kong is like the size of like what it's supposed to be. Like King Kong was born to be that size. He's not. He's not a product of radiation like Godzilla is.
Yeah. Well, you would think like so the whole thing with the is it Mechano Kong is what they call him, or do they call him Mecha Kong?
I call him Mecha Kong, but yeah, it's like Mechi Kong or something.
Well, I'll just call him Mecha Kong. But they build him so he'll go down and get the Element X, but the robot version even has trouble getting Element X.
There's so much radiation that it's frying its brain circuits in the robot.
Yeah,
but let me ask you this though before we get into anything. What do you think of the design of Mecha Kong?
I like it actually. He's silly. I will say this: he looks better than King Kong looks in this movie, in my opinion.
I really like the design of this. He looks, even when like the way he moves and like runs and stuff, it's so funny looking.
It is.
But I really dug the design of a Mecha Kong.
Mm-hmm. I actually really like Mecha Kong, and we'll talk about it later. But it bums me out what happens to Mecha Kong. But we'll get to it. But no, I thought that was just a fun thing. It was nice. No wonder I'm gonna be really excited when we do get to see Mecha Godzilla in the later movies. I know he's a fan favorite, but there's something just neat about a metal version of just some kaiju. That's just I don't know, a fun concept to explore.
Just imagine the man hours and materials that had to go into building a giant, because this thing is like the size of skyscrapers, and they had to build a giant robot ape. I really like it, and it's a fun little opening. And you do get to meet, like I said, his female companion, like the evil woman, who is also played by Mai Hama.
Whoa.
If you were listening to our Tuesday episode, she was Kissy, and now her name, Madame Piranha.
Yeah, which I think is an awesome name. That's a great name. So
I'm like, why don't they use that name more often?
Right. And I think she's really good in this role. I think they give her a better role than they did in James Bond, where she's kind of.
You mean she's a better actress in her native language, Nathan?
Surprising, rather than forcing her to speak English. But no, I do like that. Just her character, like the idea that she's a political leader wanting this Element X. She plays both sides, and she plays it so cool. I don't know. She wears sunglasses throughout the movie, and I don't know. She's just a really cool character.
I guess the main thing we got to mention is that's not our main characters. Our main characters are a trio of 2 Americans and 1 Japanese actor, and that is Commander Nelson, Jiro, and Lieutenant Susan.
Yeah, Lieutenant Susan. Anytime they said her name, I laughed.
I'll be honest. These 3 characters are so boring.
I think this is why. So I like this movie. I do enjoy this movie, but I think I don't love it, and it's because of this cast. I think they kind of bring it down because they're boring, and I don't really care much about them.
Yeah.
They're just kind of exposition dumpers. Like, at the very beginning of the movie, they talk about like, oh, in the middle of the Java Sea. Love that. There's Mondo Island, and King Kong built tunnels there. And, they're just giving us the story. And it's just kind of boring. I don't really care about the love, because the Jiro and Susan there, they have a romance, and I could care less about their romance.
Zero chemistry between the 2. It just... I did not care one bit, and I think that's kind of what holds me back from. I liked this movie. I didn't love it, but it's for me like okay. So if we go back to Invasion of the Astro Monster, that one there wasn't a whole lot of kaiju in there, but the alien invasion plot line of that movie made it really interesting to watch, and I was getting invested in the human part of it, even though I would have liked to have seen more monsters. But if considering they had us watch that instead, that was more of an enjoyable sit through. This one, there's not a ton of kaiju like action, like fighting really.
No.
I mean, there's at least 2 fight scenes, and there's one like towards the beginning of the movie, and then one at like the very end, and then you see just Kong kind of by himself doing a couple of things. It's not my favorite in terms of these movies, but you know, the stuff that is there though, I mean, there is some good stuff. It's just you got to wait really long for it.
Yeah, there's a whole bit in the middle that I think just drags a little bit. Just, you know, you really are just looking forward to seeing King Kong again. But and like just seeing special effects, because there's like a neat part. Like, this is the beginning of the movie where those three, the American group, drive like an airboat, like it floats, it flies around, and then they run into King Kong fighting. Who is he fighting?
Well, okay, before we do that.
Okay, all right.
Kong does have a suit redesign.
Yes.
It's not the same one. So the best compliment I can give is that he looks better than the one from King Kong versus Godzilla. He doesn't look so like in this one, his eyes actually move. So he doesn't have like these soulless, like staring eyes all the time, and doesn't look great, but the best compliment I can give is that he looks better than what he did.
I guess I could say the same too. It at least looks better, and I mean, it's not horrible. It's just fine. No, it's not even fine. It's kind of bad, but it's fun.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's fun to look at. It's fun to look at when he blinks. I think that's funny. His arms kind of dangle around. They move so sillily. I don't know what it is. It's I don't know. Just looking at him is a treat.
It's a treat.
Yeah. Hey, look, we had the same thing on the mind.
Well, that of course was played by Nakajima.
Of course.
The main hero of this series. King Kong is on the island. He's doing his thing, and he runs into his classic foe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do they even say his name in this movie?
They do not. They do not.
I had to look it up right before this. I was like, I forgot the name of this monster, and they don't say it in the movie, so I have to look up who this is.
So it's Gorosaurus, and Gorosaurus, he's a T-Rex. I mean, that's the best way you can describe it.
Yeah.
And I like the fight scene, but
I do too.
It's because he's like biting at Kong, but Kong like throws him down to the ground and is just pummeling this dinosaur until like the dinosaur dies from punches.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most horrifying scenes in a Godzilla movie, or sorry, I guess you'd say a kaiju movie we've covered on here so far, is that dinosaur foaming from the mouth after he's dead. It was like, I've never seen anything like this. This is so, it was like, wow, this is brutal.
But yeah, I like it. So like he beats Gorosaurus into submission. Gorosaurus like doesn't stand a chance. He just he just gets the crap beat out of him. But you think
I do want to say he does get a good couple hits in there, actually, like 2 or 3. The jump kick he does, that's like he actually hops in the air and kicks him. Is that what you're about to bring up?
He does a little drop kick. That's his specialty. And my favorite part with him is you think he's dead. He's laying on the ground and Kong's just standing there, and he just bites Kong's leg like as he's on the ground, like dying.
Yeah.
And Kong's like, "What the hell?" And then he does you've seen Kong do this in other movies because he did it in the original movie, and he's done it in the remake where he just takes the jaw and just like pries it open and breaks the jaw so it unhinges.
Yeah. And I mean, I was reading that I guess the people that made this movie wanted this movie to be more violent. Like they wanted blood and stuff in this movie, and Ishiro Honda I think was the one who was like, no, we do not do that. Like we this movie's for kids, we don't do that. And the compromise was to do foam. I honestly think the foam might be more gross than blood.
I laughed because it just looks like a bubble bath that's coming out of his mouth.
But it's just the idea of it. I was like, well, you could have just done blood. Like it's just weird. But yeah, then Gorosaurus is gone from the movie.
Well, so I hope that's the whole reason we watched this movie, Nathan, was because of Gorosaurus.
For like 5 minutes.
Don't worry, Nathan. He's coming back. I know you're hyped after this movie.
You know what? I'm excited to see what Gorosaurus does in this movie. I'll be watching it and I'll be like, there he is, just like Rodan and all the other little guys.
Baron, Baragon, yeah. Mm-hmm. They're all gonna be joining hands.
Mm-hmm. Mecha-Kong?
Sorry, this is his only movie.
Damn, really? Is this it?
This is it.
Oh wow, that's actually kind of sad.
I think that'd be pretty good. Like if they already did Mechagodzilla, unfortunately, in the other Godzilla movie, the remake, but they do why not do Mecha-Kong?
I think it would be fun if they went the full length to do Mechagodzilla. They could do it, but I guess Mecha-Kong's a little more obscure. I feel like Mechagodzilla is like, that's just cool. Everybody kind of knows about it.
Yeah. So this movie does follow a lot of King Kong tropes. So King Kong, he's a man. He loves the ladies, and Lieutenant Susan is no exception. He picks her up and he just loves staring at her.
Right. I love the imagery of her being held in his hands, and he kind of like uses his index finger to rub her head almost like coochie coochie coo, playing around with her. It's like, this is so silly.
But they get away and they get back into their sub that they traveled in, and Kong swims out to the water, and Kong like knocks on the sub like he's knocking on a front door, like knock, like you guys in there.
Kind of shakes it a little. You missed the one little bit. A sea serpent randomly shows up. And I busted out laughing when Kong picked up the boulder, threw it, and it just smacks the sea serpent right in the head. It was like, oh my god, it was just funny because this guy just shows up and he gets hit with a rock.
I completely forgot about that scene because when they're like, because it's so out of nowhere, like Kong's out there and they're just like, oh look, oh no, a sea serpent.
It's so funny because and then they just kind of fly over it, and then Kong is the one that's forced to deal with it. So I guess technically there are 3 fights in this movie with sea serpent saurus. I don't know.
It probably has a technical name, I'm sure, but I don't know about sure. Like all those like praying mantises and Son of Godzilla, they all have names and stuff too. So
but I think after this point with the sub and all that, I think it starts to get a little boring because they go back to America and they're like, oh, this island has King Kong on it, and go ahead.
It has such a ridiculous line in that scene because they go to like basically like the UN and they're explaining what their findings were on the island, and somebody asked them the question. I think it's Madame Piranha in a disguise, but they ask why did Kong go after Lieutenant Susan? And he's like, well, Kong is a man after all, and Lieutenant Susan, she's quite a looker. I mean, could you blame Kong? He says, can you blame Kong?
Yeah, can you blame? And everybody in the room laughs. They're like, oh, you're right.
I'm like, huh?
Yeah, it's a little messed up. Another funny thing about that scene is he asks any questions, and then everybody's raising their hand, running at him. And I think they only ever ask him 2 questions, and they're like, "Well, if that's it for questions, we will leave now." Just the important ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, what even? Oh well, then it becomes like a long thing. Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, so after that, Doctor Who, he goes over and they capture King Kong, and they do like the same. They clamp his arms and legs, and they throw him in a boat and take him. Oh, we forgot to mention this base they take him to. They take King Kong to the North Pole.
Yes, the North Pole of all places.
Could have been any other cold place, but they're just like the North Pole.
Yep, of course they had to pick the one place. I do love that like King Kong wakes up in this base and his first sight is of Mecha Kong, and from that first shot, I thought it was going to be like he would fall in love with Mecha Kong. I thought I did like it was like kind of hazy, and he was going to be like, "Oh my god, who is that beautiful lady over there?" But no, they did not go that. They didn't go that angle. I think if I made one of these movies, I would do that. I'm glad I could make you laugh.
Oh god. I was not expecting that. That didn't even cross my mind.
Okay, it crossed my mind. That was the first thing I thought. He's gonna be like a wooga, classic.
Yeah. Well, Nathan, his heart was to Lieutenant Susan. Kong's not a 2-timer.
Okay, yeah. Kong is a one woman guy. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. But they use hypnosis on Kong to start digging, which is just like a flashing like rainbow light. And I really like how they put an earpiece in Kong's ear to tell him what to do. It reminds me of like those really bad like sitcoms. And it's like, okay, I'm going to put this radio in the ear and I just repeat everything I tell you.
That's what it sounds like. And the words that Doctor Who's giving him, it's so funny. He's like, "You're doing a really good job, Kong. Keep up the good work." Like King Kong is going to understand this dude telling him he's doing great. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. Yeah, it doesn't. That's right. No, but the earpiece breaks from the element 0, and King Kong, he gets out. King Kong escapes. There's the title of the movie. Wow.
That is. It was a great escape.
It was. Yeah. Is there any other escape movies?
Escape from Alcatraz.
He escaped from his personal Alcatraz.
But yeah, so the 3 main characters show up, and this part it drags on so long, and I admittedly I was kind of zoning out at some points. But
the only real thing that I even like thought was notable in this part was that Madame Piranha does try to seduce the main guy. And I guess just it was odd to me because they didn't really do anything. They've never really done anything like that in these kaiju movies that we've watched so far. It felt a little out of place, I guess.
Yeah. The other part, the part I remember is they instead of shooting these people again, they're just like, "We're gonna put you in this room and we're gonna turn off the heat, and it's gonna get really cold in there."
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, because it's like a gas. It almost looks like a gas flowing out of the vents. It's like, oh, they're poisoning them, and then no, they're just making him cold.
They're just like Pole. They're just shivering, and that's going to kill them eventually. So it's just a very inefficient way of killing somebody. But
it's the North Pole. It's all they can think about.
Yeah, but it's come to find out that Madame Piranha was actually a good person. Oh, she was just doing it to help her country. She's not a bad guy.
You come to find out Doctor Who was a bad guy the whole time and it wasn't going to help her. But do they ever say what country she's from?
No, they keep it very vague.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say she's from Japan. She kind of screws herself over because King Kong escaped and he just goes straight to Japan. He's like
Well,
straight trajectory.
no, they do explicitly state she's not
Yeah, that's
Japanese.
right. Not Japanese, not Chinese, not
Yeah,
Burmese. Um,
not Chuck E. Cheese.
Definitely not. Chucky would never let anything like this happen. But then once King Kong escapes to Japan, the movie picks up. The movie at least starts to pick up there.
Yeah, but the only problem is by that point, it's like there's only like 15 minutes left in the movie.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
but they do have a skyscraper battle, or like a neat, like they climb on the big giant Tokyo Tower, and
mhm.
they're
Yeah.
just they're fighting. That part was really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a really cool set piece because like they keep like destroying the tower, so they're just ripping parts off of it. It looks cool. The only part that's a little iffy, but it was funny, was that Suzanne gets tossed around like a rag doll, just like getting thrown. She's falling off of things that she cannot get out of that situation.
Well, yeah, well, because she gets that point, and then like she ends up falling onto a building, and she like starts rolling off the roof of it, and she's very clearly in, like, they built like a giant hand model of Kong, and they built one for Mecha Kong too, so she ends up in both of their hands, and
Yeah.
you just see the hands like moving around crazy, and she's like just getting whiplashed around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And uh, well, this is the end of the fight, but I do want to bring it up. So Mecha Kong is fighting King Kong on this tower, and I don't know about you, I felt bad for Mecha Kong, right? And I say this,
You would.
I would, because Mecha Kong's being controlled by evil forces. It's not Mecha Kong's choice. And then Mecha Kong dies, and I'm telling you, King Kong looks down at Mecha Kong's dead body and is kind of like, what a shame. It's sad, like damn, it wasn't their fault. Could have lived a happy life. Just an evil person controlled them. I'm just saying. I'm just
Well, yeah.
saying.
Well, yeah, he had to kill his lover.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, there was a secret romance that was cut out of this movie. It was there the whole time.
Oh man, but no, I actually like the way Mecha Kong dies, because
I agree.
It falls from such a height that its body just explodes on impact. Like, not literally explodes, like the body just like bursts apart. Like it's like this. Whatever was adhesing these parts together was not very strong.
No, he just busts apart.
It's like you ever see like the cartoons or movies where like they knock over a suit of armor and it just like falls apart into like a bunch of pieces. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're right.
It's a very good ending. I really wanted more of that type of stuff. I'm like,
yeah,
like if we could have gotten more scenes of them like in the city fighting, I think I would have liked this movie a lot more, or even just some solo Kong stuff, because even like the solo Kong stuff wasn't very exciting.
Yeah, because he's just a prisoner for like a good chunk of the movie. Yeah, if there maybe was a fight in the middle of it or something to kind of pep it up, it just needed that energy, because I think the energy goes down so much that it makes it hard to really make it come back up in the end, almost. But yeah, I put a but there because I do think it's a fun movie. I still liked it. There's something about it I liked.
Well, I'm going to mention my favorite scene for the movie now.
Oh, okay.
Because that's not where the movie ends when Mecha Kong falls. So Doctor Who is still alive, and he's on a boat out in the middle of the water, and they're just like, oh, and once Mecha Kong's dead, they're like, oh no, Kong's on his way, and like King Kong is just full on sprinting to this boat, and just the way he ran in there, it was so funny to me.
I know. What with his little arms that kind of just like dangle, right, and like sway.
But because I'm so used to kaiju's moving so slow, and then he's just like full on sprinting, and then he jumps in the water, and I think maybe other than the death in Mothra, this is like the most violent death and like that human dies, because they like Kong crushes the boat, and it shows what's happening in the boat, and like a part of the boat like crashes onto Doctor Who, and he's just like squirting out blood from his whole body and out of his mouth and everything.
That's right.
It's such a violent death that he has.
It's one of those weird moments, like just like the foaming, where it's like, wow, they really like, why are they like, why would the producers be like, we need more violence in our children's movie, more blood? I mean, I guess it was a different time. TV was brutal in Japan in the 60s. I don't know.
I was not expecting it to go that hard at the end.
Yeah, no.
But like I said, it's an enjoyable entry into the group. It's not one that I'm going to be rewatching anytime soon, but I'm glad it exists.
No, I agree. I'm glad it exists. I had fun with it. So yeah, no, I mean, I would actually recommend this one. Like, I would say if you're interested, check it out. I think it's worth a watch.
Oh yeah, this one, I mean, it's about an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, it maybe runs a little too long, and actually the American version takes out about 10 minutes of the movie, so maybe it flows a little better that way. You could try the English version. But it's not a bad entry to the series, and it's definitely, I would say, give it a watch. If you liked all the other Godzillas up to this point, then definitely check this one out.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. But I think we're gonna shut the book on Toho right now. For now, we've got our Avengers symbol assembled, and don't worry, these monsters will return and destroy all monsters.
For real?
Who knows?
Okay, we'll see.
But
all right.
So Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
Well, what I have to say for next week is yeehaw, because we got a Western week coming up. I don't know if they'll say yeehaw in any of those movies, either movie we're watching, but we're going to do a couple Westerns. I feel like it's been a little bit since we talked about those. And then on Tuesday, we're watching The White Buffalo, directed by J. Lee Thompson and starring Charles Bronson. And that is streaming over on Tubi.
J. Lee Thompson, returning director.
3 times. That'll be their 3rd time.
Hey, if it's anything as good as Alan Quartermain, I'm all for it. So
yeah, me too.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you listening in. If you'd like to offer your thoughts, opinions, anything like that, send us an email over to driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast. But until next time.